Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my Week 7 review. This week was kind of crazy. A lot of people got dropped off, and not much to be said yet. Like and subscribe, but help a comment always helps. Let's get straight into this. So first, we got Ohio State versus Purdue. This was like just about as expected. I mean, it was a blowout. We expected nothing less of this game. Yeah, that we'll just move on. All right, Kansas versus Oklahoma State. I said I think Oklahoma State can come out top because Kansas doesn't have their starting QB, and Oklahoma State's been doing a little bit better recently. So, and that's kind of exactly what happened. Almost in the exact same sense, just a little bit more of a high-scoring game and a wacky score. Oklahoma State got a good old 14-0 jump, and then they were up 17-7. And then from that point on, Kansas started to pull away. It looked like they were up 32-24, but that was all Kansas would do, as Oklahoma State would go for 24-39 and win by a touchdown. Oklahoma State was just a better team. I think they finally got a quarterback situation figured out, but major takeaway, Kansas had 2 picks thrown, as well as they failed to convert 2 fourth downs, whereas Oklahoma State did not give away a single possession, which seems to be a little bit of a trend right now. The teams that aren't playing aggressive and are playing more conservative are the teams that are winning games. We'll get to that later. Oklahoma State had ultimately 3 more minutes of possession, which gave them like 54 more yards. Very, very split game between the two, with Oklahoma State coming out on top. I thought Oklahoma State was going to win this. Oklahoma State, they've started to look a little bit more threatening now. They've got to go play at West Virginia this weekend. I think they can win that. Not sure. West Virginia should be 5-1 right now, but they lost to they should be. They should be 5-1. They lost to a Hail Mary to Houston. They shouldn't have lost like that, but it's whatever. It counts as a loss. Then after that, they got Cincinnati. So Oklahoma State at minimum could be going 5-3, maximum 6-2 going into the Oklahoma game, in which that game is actually at Oklahoma State. That one is now starting to look a little bit more interesting, so keep an eye out for that as time goes on. Georgia versus Vanderbilt. I'd love to say this one went as how we expected it to, but Georgia allowed Vanderbilt to score 20 points, with Vanderbilt getting an early jump in the game with a 49-yard touchdown pass. From that point on, it was pretty much all Georgia. Going into the fourth quarter, however, Vanderbilt would cut it to a 13-point game. Georgia would kick a field goal to make it a 16-point game. Vanderbilt would score a touchdown and fail the 2-point conversion to make it a 10-point game. And with 3 minutes left, Georgia would put the dagger in and win 37-20. This was not impressive by Georgia. And one thing that actually my dad has said and is very factual, I just want to point it out because, when he said it, it kind of I was like, that is very true, is Georgia struggles greatly on the road. We see them kill Kentucky at home, a full house in a top 25 matchup. I think it was a late game. Yeah, I believe it was a late game. But, yeah, Georgia struggles on the road. Their home field is where they're the strongest. This or next weekend, because Georgia's on a bye this weekend, next weekend, the weekend after that, Georgia's got to go on the road to Florida in major rivalry. Florida is 5-2, and that they will be 5-2 going into that game. I don't want to say Florida will enter the top 25, but depending on how things go, they could just default in, right? That could make things a lot more interesting, and overall, it's a rivalry. It'll probably be a full stadium in the Swamp. I'm not too sure Georgia wins that. Even Missouri is going to be a tough competition. Georgia should be able to handle Ole Miss, but then Georgia's got to go play at Tennessee. So it's I don't think Georgia goes undefeated anymore, man. It was looking after that Kentucky win like they could. It's starting to look sketchy again. Indiana at Michigan. This one went exactly how we expected it to. I just expected a lower scoring Michigan has started to kick it into overdrive. All their original games, I know they were without Jim Harbaugh for a while. They were sitting in that 30-point range. Now they're starting to enter like the 40s and 50s pretty consistently. Um, the only touchdown scored by Indiana was a trick play. Like a trick play, like flea flicker that the defense didn't guard, and that was it. That was all it was. So Michigan annihilated as we expected. Good for Michigan. Syracuse at FSU. That I just don't understand. Like the people that made the Syracuse game versus the Syracuse versus North Carolina game either close or had Syracuse upsetting, and then they got destroyed. There were people going into this game who were like, Syracuse will make it close and whatnot. This is a Syracuse team. I was like, you guys are insane. I mean, I even gave Syracuse more points than they got. Like, they got destroyed. 3 points is ridiculous, man. Jordan Travis, I think he got hurt. I remember when he was, like, right before halftime, he was running into the locker room. So, yeah. Florida State failed to convert 2 fourth downs, but they had no, like, actual turnovers. Syracuse had 2 turnovers and failed to convert one of their 2 fourth downs. So Syracuse gave away the ball 30 times. Florida State gave the ball away 2 times. But yet Syracuse was only able to get 261 yards, whereas Florida State was able to get 537. And Syracuse had 5 more minutes of possession time. So, yeah, Syracuse is dog shit. I don't know why people were, like, preaching on this team. They are bad. They went, I think, from 4-0 now to 4-3 in just 3 games. I get they've gotten, like, the hardest teams in the ACC, but they haven't shown any life in those games. Arkansas at Alabama. Tell me with full confidence this Alabama team is going to make the college football playoff, because that is just, it's just wrong. The thing that concerns me is that Alabama, for me, is about their defense. All about their defense, right? They hold Ole Miss to 10 points. Well, here's my prediction in the first place. I said Alabama wasn't going to put up as many points as we'd like, maybe with like a last-minute touchdown, but they would still win because of defense. Well, they allowed Arkansas to score 21 points, and it's not like it was a last-minute comeback. Arkansas scored the touchdown and a 2-point conversion with 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The defense finally kicked it in that last quarter, holding them to nothing pretty much, but the offense wasn't able to do anything in return. So this Alabama team, I still think they have a pretty decent defense, but they allowed Arkansas to score 21 points on them. As well as Arkansas scored the first 6 points of the game. It looked like that second quarter, Jalen Milroe had a very good stretch from the end of the first quarter to halftime. Like Jalen Milroe started to go off, and then utter silence, complete and utter silence. This Alabama team is not as good as we think. I think they'll finish off like number 15 this year or something. Definitely taking a loss. I'm interested in that LSU-Alabama game now because, yeah, LSU's all offense, Alabama's all defense, and sometimes it either goes one way or the other, man. Cal at Utah, I said, like Cal would score their points because I do think Cal has a pretty decent offense. Of course, they've got Jaden Ott, but Utah, they struggle. I was pretty damn close on this prediction. It was just a little bit more points for Utah. Utah actually showed some life. All right, their defense, of course, locked down like I expected them to. This honestly was a pretty impressive win by Utah for me because it wasn't like they won 14-21 like they have been for a lot of games. They actually put up quite a decent amount of points without Cam Rising. Now, so in my video about natty contenders, I put Utah in as my sleeping giant. That is now being taken out of the equation because I don't think Cam Rising's coming back. I don't even think he's going to come back this year. He looks very hobbled on the sidelines. He does not look ready to play. I think he is still going to be he's going to be out. I think he's done for a long time. So, yeah, Utah's just kind of got to truck along, get the wins that they need to get, maybe finish off 4 loss or something like that. But, yeah, Cam Rising, I think he gets another year of eligibility or something. He'll probably be back. UMass at Penn State, this one went exactly how we expected it. Nothing to be said. This was free game for them. And then the game of the week. I think I kind of talked about this. Or no, I haven't talked about this one yet. So, this was my prediction. I went in favor of Oregon. And while I was watching this game, it definitely looked like I was going to be right. But right at the end of the game, everything took a turn for the worse for Oregon. And Washington comes out on top. So going into halftime, right? Oregon decides instead of kicking their field goal, they try to go for the touchdown on 4th and goal. They don't get it. They go into the half scoreless. And then to open up the second half, Washington throws a touchdown, making an 11-point game. Then Oregon goes down the field at the end of the third quarter, scores a touchdown, and gets the 2-point conversion to make it a 3-point game. Start of the fourth quarter, Oregon goes down the field and scores a touchdown. There were multiple situations where Oregon could have kicked field goals, just taken their points, as well as the touchdown that Washington scores with 1:38 left to give them the go-ahead win. That possession was given so easily to Washington by a risky 4th and 3 call. I got to blame the coach on this one. I'm completely blaming the coach. I think everybody else is. Bo Nix, he was fabulous in this game. No interceptions thrown. 33 for 44, which I think is literally 75%. 337 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was fantastic. Michael Penix was fantastic as well. 22 for 37, 302 yards, 4 touchdowns, but a pick. So both of these quarterbacks, they were having a great game. Bucky Irving was having a great game. It felt like he was unstoppable. He 22 carries for 127 yards and a touchdown. And then the Johnson guy for Washington was 20 carries and 100 yards and a touchdown. Both running backs. This was all offense, no defense for what it looked like. I mean, the defense was definitely there in a lot of plays, but this was definitely a more offensive game. But Washington comes out on top, man. I was very, very surprised by the outcome. And also, I mean, just to finish off the game, Oregon missed a field goal. So that was just the story of this game was Oregon's mistakes. A&M versus Tennessee. I said this one would be very high scoring due to history. It just wasn't. It was just the opposite. Sorry, I don't know if you guys could hear that. My dog is barking at something. Sorry about that, and I've got a horrific stuffy nose right now. Oh my goodness, this is like torture. I don't know why my nose is doing. It's been doing this to me for like the past 4 videos. All right, so now we get on to the final score. Sorry for that long pause. A&M loses to Tennessee. Me personally, I don't really care about this game because I wasn't able to watch it. I think it was on CBS. I wasn't able to watch it. So yeah, Tennessee comes out on top, takes down A&M. This is a more impressive win for Tennessee for me, but it was at Tennessee. So, all right, I already kind of talked about this one. In another video, Louisville at Pitt. I said, I pretty much reversed the score. I said it would be 35-17. It was 21-38. Louisville should not have beaten Notre Dame at all. Notre Dame should be like a top 5 team right now, but sadly, Louisville just had to be the worst and ruin Notre Dame's rest of the schedule. Not going to talk about this one much because I already talked about it in another video. Arizona, Washington State, another one that I already talked about in another video. I said Washington State would win a closer battle. U of A ended up killing Washington State like it was nothing. Absolute obliteration. Already talked about that in another video. Auburn at LSU. So I said this one. LSU's got the offense as well as the home field. Auburn does have a good defense, but they're just absent on the offense. So I said 20-45. It was 18-48. I'd say that's a pretty damn good prediction. Pretty spot on. Yeah, it was LSU's game from start to finish pretty much. I mean, the closest the game got was 10-20 at the start of the third quarter, and from that point on, it was all LSU. LSU's a pretty underrated team right now, in my opinion. They could start making a comeback. This game. USC at Notre Dame. So I said this one would be like a Notre Dame. Notre Dame would control this one for a while with USC making a last stand. It actually was kind of like the opposite. USC was getting beat up pretty good. I mean, it was 6-24 going into halftime. Then it was 13-24. Then it was 20-31. And then the third quarter, I mean, they literally just Notre Dame 99-yard kickoff return, and then they kick a field goal, and then they get a fumble, scoop, and score on the very next play. It was just like USC fell apart. USC probably could have performed a comeback. But yeah, the story about this one was turnovers. USC had 5 turnovers, failed to convert 2 of their 3 fourth downs. Notre Dame had 0 turnovers and failed to convert 0 fourth downs because they didn't go for any. That's the story of this game right now, man. USC, obviously, the picks and the fumbles definitely handed Notre Dame this game. We can say that for sure. Handed Notre Dame this game because literally one of their touchdowns was a scoop and score, and I mean they got so many possessions right in the red zone. Sam Hartman didn't do shit. Like 13 for 20, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was all Notre Dame's defense. All Notre Dame's defense. I'm not going to say these turnovers were just dumb mistakes by USC. These were like defensive plays, and like too much pressure on the defense was just ruining USC. So definitely Notre Dame won this one because they deserve it. But if USC would have calmed down, locked in, they probably could have made this game a lot closer. But they ended up getting killed. Kind of saw this coming. Miami at North Carolina. This one was looking ugly for a while. I said it'd be a very close battle because I think Miami is good, with North Carolina coming out on top. At a point in time, going into the fourth quarter, or with like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, North Carolina was up 38-17. Very, very separated game. And the final score ended up being 31-41. So Miami kind of made a little bit of a last-minute resurgence. But North Carolina controlled this one. Drake May, I mean, he was great, but he also wasn't. He was just 17 for 33, which I'd say is that's literally just above 50%. 273 yards, but 4 touchdowns. Tyler Van Dyke, however, had a fantastic game. 31 for 48, 391 yards, 4 touchdowns, but sadly 2 picks. So that was what looks like gave North Carolina this game, was the turnovers, which is exactly true. Miami had 4 turnovers and failed to convert 1 of their 4 fourth downs. They converted the other 3. Kind of crazy that they went for that many. North Carolina didn't go for any 4th downs and didn't turn over the ball once. Now, an important stat, though, is that North Carolina had 14 penalties for 147 yards, but Miami had 7 for 69. So both of these teams had their fair share of, mistakes. Both teams, they were closing in on 500 yards. Very competitive match with North Carolina coming out on top. I think North Carolina definitely deserved this win. Missouri at Kentucky. I was surprised, man. I said Kentucky would win with that home field, and it was definitely looking like it. But all it took was one play for the momentum to shift entirely. So going into the second quarter, Kentucky's up 14-0. Crowd is loud. Missouri says, fuck it, let's go for a fake punt, throw by the punter. It was a dime. It looks like he pushed off a little bit, but they didn't call it. Gets a touchdown, and from that point on, it's all Missouri. They take a 20-14 lead in the third quarter. Kentucky puts up a touchdown to make it 20-21, and then it's all Missouri. Touchdown, 2-point conversion, touchdown, field goal to give us final score 38-21. Devin Leary is he's bad, bro. Like, he 14 for 27, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Whereas the quarterback for Missouri, Brady Cook, was 19 for 29, 167 yards, a touchdown and an interception. So both quarterbacks were pretty mid, and both running backs were playing great, of course. It is just like, I don't really know where all the points came from for Missouri. It looks like Brady Cook ran one in. And yeah, Brady Cook ran one in. Cody Schrader had a 19-yard rush. Of course, the fake punt, led to points. Yeah, that's it. It's just a lot of field goals and a lot of field goals and a lot of points. That's all. Kentucky, important stat, had 3 turnovers, failed to convert their only fourth down conversion. Missouri converted their only fourth down conversion and threw a pick. That's it. Also, Kentucky had 14 penalties for 122 yards, and Missouri had 6 penalties for 65 yards. Missouri led in yards. It is just Missouri played better football. Kentucky made more mistakes. Oh, sorry. Final score is 38-21. I was staring at my phone. That's that. Let's try to speed this up. So this was my prediction. I said this one would be close. It kind of was. I mean, of course, if you watch the game, you know Oregon State was up big. Like, Oregon State going into the fourth quarter was up 36-17. UCLA had multiple chances to make a last-minute comeback because, Oregon State's offense just decided to shut down, but UCLA just chose to suck. They chose to suck. They failed to convert 2 of their 5 fourth downs, still converting 3, but they threw 3 picks, whereas Oregon State converted their only fourth down, and they fumbled the ball once. This is what I'm saying. Every single team that is losing right now has like 3 turnovers, and they fail to convert fourth downs. It's just ridiculous. It's like, what causes the incentive to say, hey, we turned the ball over, let's go for a fourth down? Like, it's like they're trying to make up for it, and it just bites them in the ass. Both teams were pretty split in yards. UCLA actually had more, and Oregon State had more yards of penalties. It's just, the turnovers gave Oregon State the edge. Oregon State deserves this. Oregon State's a really good team. Last game of the week, I said Duke still has the strong defense to get this done. I mean, North Carolina State drew first blood, but I said they get 14. Duke would get 28 because they still got a very good running back and whatnot. The defense ended up doing a lot better than I thought. The quarterback for NC State was 24 for 40 and 193 yards and an interception. He was awful. He was also their leading rusher with 14 carries for 38 yards. So Duke's defense is for real. Notre Dame game can back it up. I mean, Clemson game can back it up. The backup quarterback for Duke, something Bellin the fourth. He was 4 for 12, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns, but a pick. So in 4 passes, he threw 2 touchdowns and 107 yards. Hell, I'll take it. Their running back was 13 carries for 123 yards and a touchdown. Duke does great. And that's the last game of the week. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry, I kind of got distracted in the middle of this video. Dogs started barking. People entered the household. Got distracted. So let's quickly wrap this up. That's all for me. Or like and subscribe would help. A comment always helps. And that's all for me. Adios.